welcome to Talking Points here on WESN, the content capital, and I quote in verbatim, the only nation in the station.
That's
Actually,
right.
you know what? I think you better do it.
That's right. It's the only nation in the station broadcasted in HD. That's right. That's right. Because through the lens, TNT is in HD. Through other lenses, TNT is in SD.
Is in what?
Standard definition.
Okay, good. Yes, thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Well, folks, good morning. This is Keaton Shaw.
Yes, I'm Keaton Chan. This is Sean Michael Small.
I am Sean Michael Small. It's a grey overcast, but not necessarily rainy morning. So I wasn't entirely sure if I liked it because it wasn't as cool as one would expect an overcast morning to be. All things considered, though, it seems as though the Met Office's report of a lack of rain for April and May is going to be mostly true. We'll see how it turns out.
Hold on, that rain we had 2 weeks ago was a lack?
Yeah, well, but it was limited.
Limited to what? Floods?
Just a few days.
Oh, you mean floods in a few areas? That's
Well,
what
you
it was limited
see,
to.
is the floods because of the rain or is the floods because the drainage is so bad it only takes a couple of days? Well, not even a couple of days. You get floods with each instance of rain.
So the lack of rain in the month of April and in the month of May, you know. But fortunately enough, I think the National Hurricane Center has suggested that a storm has formed off of the African coast, and they're suggesting that this is going to be the start of the Atlantic hurricane season. So soon, we will all have some relief. We will still have no water in our taps, and we'll have plenty flood to bathe in.
Well, that's the thing. Will it be as a relief as you want, you know? The grass is always green on the other side. We go from dry to flooding. There's no in-between, apparently, in TNT anymore.
It's unfortunate. It's sad. But honestly, I mean, okay, imagine this. Yesterday afternoon at 4 p.m., I checked the temperature. 36 degrees at 4 p.m. And it was saying it feels like 42. I was like...
I mean, 36 degrees is kind of hot. My AC doesn't go past 30, and that's usually not a thing.
I think we're still fortunate enough because in England they experience up to 50. Could you imagine what that's like?
No. And that always will never cease to surprise me. The fact that temperatures up north, where we think of it as places with snow, during the summer months, well, yeah, it kind of, the heat puts what we experience to some degree to shame.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. Well, you know about that, folks. We have a lot to get into today with the Daily Review. And the first story is one that it didn't necessarily shock me as much as it would have. It's another tragedy, again, because, in this case, not only were 2 people murdered, but another child was injured, shot in the head, fighting for her life, 12 years old. This is a home invasion that I'm speaking of. A couple was murdered. This is at Claxton Bay. Asher George and Devon Drayton. They were invaded at midnight. There is a lot of, well, at least in one article, a lot of speculation because the young lady involved, Asher George, she has, well, her life has known tragedy from violence. So there is speculation with regards to the motivations, but she herself is not necessarily connected to anything. More importantly, and we were just talking about in the office, you know, with home invasions, and, you know, sometimes they just come in, they kill you, and I would like to know what is the reasoning in their brain to shoot a 12-year-old in the head?
Yes, the 12-year-old is currently at hospital fighting for her life after being shot in the head. It's, as you said, expressing shock is I mean, I'm not trying to sound heartless. It's not entirely shocking. I'm angry.
That's the problem.
I'm angry more than anything else.
No, but it's not entirely shocking because we've seen other children get gunned down before.
And that is the thing. When emotionally you feel disconnected simply because of instances of this happening, I wouldn't say all the time, but it happens too often, then it just actually takes away from the severity of the situation. Furthermore, you do not have to be directly involved in any criminal activity now. So you can just have a family member involved, and if anything goes wrong, they'll target the family. And that is a great concern, because I've heard of people who, unfortunately, there was one instance of a person being murdered most recently. I was told that that individual was involved in crime, but was trying to get out, actually. And once you get involved, you can't get out. It's simple. But beyond that, you know, this 12-year-old, I really hope that she doesn't pay for the sins of the mother or the father, or by extension, any relatives. I don't know what is going to happen, but we can only hope that that she makes a recovery. And yes, I say a full recovery, because I don't want it to recover and then, you know, her life is limited due to whatever circumstances.
Yeah.
But beyond that, another point is, why are we labeling it as a home invasion right away?
Well, true.
Why are we limited at right away? Immediately we're reporting it as a home invasion.
Well, I guess the thing is a home invasion limited to robberies? But yes, I guess technically it is. So you're right with regards to that, because the motives we don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Here's the thing, though: whether it's a home invasion or they were targeting one of the adults, what is the reason to injure? Now, we don't know if she was directly struck in the head with a bullet, or if it was like a glancing wound or what have you. Of course, with a young child, a minor wound could be serious. But what was the motivation to say, well, you know, we have to silence the 12-year-old too?
Well, to be honest with you, because it's amateurs, I mean, it is most likely, given the information coming out of reports lately, that these individuals were no older than 20, 25. Right?
No,
and the thing
remember
is,
the case, I think it was in Iran, where they beat up the 15-year-old, one of the perpetrators was 14-year-old.
Yeah, and no, I think it was 17. But
they might have been a 17 and a 14.
Some ridiculous age, young age.
Yeah.
You can't wake up in time to go to school, but you know. But beyond that, again, I don't know if there is a particular definition in terms of the laws of TNT, criminal laws, with regards to what home invasion is, because technically, if you think about it, it kind of is a home invasion. We're breaking down the door and we're entering, right. But there is a premise that is set with home invasion and TNT now, where it's a robbery. They break into your home, and but these individuals, these perpetrators, they don't care. They'll break down that door and they will spray bullets. You know, they have an intended target, but all who is involved, whoever there at that point in time, unfortunately, is going to die by the gun, even if you've casted no stones in your lifetime. That is what we're living in, and this is what I'm saying. It makes it even more difficult to enjoy life, because you don't want to come home when the street is quiet, right?
Yes.
Your doors are going to be locked all the time, even when you're in your house and it's really, really hot, and you want to open your door to let some breeze in. You hesitate to even do that.
This is the funny thing. When I go home, it could be midday, it could be the afternoon, it could be the evening, it could be late at night. It really doesn't matter. There's no point in time that I feel relatively safer. Oh, well, criminals are not going to... Look, we've had one of my mother's car was stolen in broad daylight. You know, there's been a murder on my street. You just don't know. During the day, in some communities, is just as quiet as during the night. So what difference does the sun make and the light make if there's potentially nobody there to actually see anything?
And this is just one story coming out of yesterday. Because
yes, there's another
story of a 3-year-old who, I don't know if there was some angel protecting this 3-year-old, but they survived because the mother, if I'm not mistaken, was killed. I don't have this story in front of me right now, and I don't want to give you wrong details. But it seems as though that 3-year-old was absolutely lucky and fortunate. Some angel was protecting that 3-year-old. Just on the from what I've heard thus far. Put it that way. I've been trying to get details and information this morning. We've been working assiduously here, but of course, right now we're just a bit limited. But again, why? I'm not going to sound shocked or surprised. I'm just awaiting the response of those in authority, which is absolutely crucial. Because, I mean, if you're involved in a life of crime, and I'm not going to label everybody as being involved in a life of crime, it's just that it seems as though those are the people that are mostly targeted now. The police service can't necessarily do much about that. I mean, if they gather enough intelligence and they could arrest all those who are even affiliated with a gang, you don't have to be a gang member. You just have to be affiliated somehow or the other. Then that is one way to try and flip the system.
There are a lot of questions with
Police
regards
not gonna
to
do that.
their detection ability.
But June is right around the corner. June is right around the corner. I wonder what earlier what Christopher is going to be saying next. What we beyond divine intervention, we need to make divine sacrifices.
If I didn't say it when she made that statement, I will say it now. But I believe I made it already. There's more to this than just CTTPS. Although right now it's hard not to criticize police, but there is more to it as well. So she was never 100% in control of the situation. That's why she kind of put herself in a bad spot. She trapped herself with that statement to essentially, even though she didn't use the word guarantee, when you say, well, a reduction by June, you know, okay, 1% is a reduction, but I don't know if we could even get that at this pace.
Just to get quickly into one other part about it, this ban on assault weapons, again, the Firearms Act does not clearly define these weapons. But it's not going to make a difference.
No.
Because you cannot have a gun in Transvago without a license as is. It's illegal.
Yep.
Has that stopped anything or anyone?
Yeah, a lot of these American rifles, they're illegal. That penny savers, oh gosh.
Pennywise
robbery. Sorry, penny savers is in Tobago. I'm pretty sure those automatic rifles were all illegal. So, and this is something you see in the States as well. Don't get caught up with the emotion. You can't ban illegal weapons any further. Not all homicides are done with legal guns. Just want to move on. We'll touch on the last two stories. First of all, the King's Counsel, Jerome Lynch, he has said, it's my fault. I was not necessarily aware of the scope of everything. I want to do justice with all of the contributions to the Commission of Inquiry. Salmon letters, of course, have gone out, and I believe he's waiting for the reply in June. I think...
Not the response in June. He's actually suggesting that the report will be completed by June.
Well, by June, he did say that.
June or July?
I think it's July, and there's a absolute final date of August 31st. But he said that was more like in case anything happens, like unforeseen to him or whatever. And I understand, and I'm glad, at least I'm hoping it's a very detail-oriented report. If it looks as though the report is missing stuff, then that's a whole different...
Well, the chairman has indicated that the sole responsibility of actually writing the final report lays with him, and he has apologized, saying that he takes full responsibility and the blame. He's also said because of the salmon letters here in TNT, by law require a lot more detail rather than in international territories where it may be more generalized. That has also proved a bit difficult. But he has apologized, and he is hoping, I think, by July to release the final report.
I think at this point, it's already would have been a lot later than we would have liked. Once it's accurate and detailed, I think that's what we should be hoping
I'm assuming he's also back and forth from England. I'm assuming that is the case as well. You know?
Lastly, Movietown has raised its ticket prices.
That's not a big story.
This is a big story because what bothered me about it is they kind of held firm and they tried to hold off from doing any major increases. And I think it's just a sign that the economic pressure that they're experiencing, it's a sign that, hey, things are not necessarily all that hunky-dory.
But I don't know if Movietown makes their money via those ticket sales or via the confectionery.
Right, but the fact that they still had to do it, I think that's why they were able to kind of hold off. But the economic demands or the pressures or what have you, it more or less basically said, look, for us to stay in business, we have to do it. Now we need to ask, is that a sign of inflation? As much as we hear it in the States going down, and the minister says he expects it to kind of be under control in here, I'm not entirely too sure, because they held firm for a long time about not raising prices. And why now?
I'll be honest with you, it's not surprising to me. Everything in TNT is going to, every single thing. If you could name something for me, I'm challenging you this morning. Name something for me that has been reduced in price.
I'm thinking.
Keep thinking.
Well, technically, sweet peppers went down after being ridiculously high.
I think sweet peppers are still
But
ridiculously
it's still
high.
high. No,
The only thing that I'm aware that has gone down, don't tell me flour, by the way. The only thing that has gone down is the price of goat. Goat was $40 a pound at one point, now it's about $25 a pound. All right, so I think that's the only. Yeah. But still, that's my challenge to you this morning. The only thing about this story with Movietown raising their prices is that it's going to be a lot harder to plan a $200 date now. Yeah, good luck, fellas. Good luck.
Yeah, when 2 tickets now cost more than $100, that's literally what I thought.
Listen, if she cannot understand or accept a $200 date,
wait.
is she the one for you?
Wait. $200. So you only spent about $110, $120 on concessions for this date? No, $110 because you would have had $90
It's $200, right? It's $6 a ticket now.
No, but before. What
it was $50 a ticket.
It was $50 a ticket.
$50 a ticket.
Okay, so you spent $100 on concessions.
Well, not necessarily. I have to drive.
You don't even get. What kind of date is this?
You see the kind of person he is, yeah? You see the kind of person he is.
Ladies, I feel sorry for you. You know?
Yes.
And he pension the gas money as part of the cost of the date.
You feel sorry for me?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
The continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Although Trinidad and Tobago generally has a low occurrence of meningitis, it can lead to devastating complications which can be prevented if diagnosed early. Signs and the symptoms of meningitis, what would that look like?
This is not your little, I think the child feeling warm.
Not responding to Panadol at all.
Not responding to Panadol. The child is lethargic, the child is not drinking, the child is not eating, the child probably is going to be vomiting, the child is going to look very still, maybe breathing heavily, real sick child. What's Up Doc,
every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival. Safe and sound, that's how we'll get you to the biggest North Coast Jazz ever. No hassle and no worries. Park your ride at the Queen's Park Savannah, hop on board a safe and secure shuttle with your $100 return fee, and that's it. Service begins at 10 a.m. through 1 p.m. and returns from festival grounds from 7 p.m. Park and ride, a $100 return fee, first come, first go shuttle service to festival grounds Blashy shares. No hassle and no worries. North Coast Jazz, May 27th. Born here. Played here. Tickets available at Crosby's, Extra Foods Endeavour, Shogunus Main Road, Sangre Grande, Arima, Grand Bazaar, Mart's Liquor Mart, Diego Martin, Kenny's Sports Outlets, Athletes by the Park, and WESN.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Psyched. Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas, and Movie Town, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Welcome back to Talking Points, and thank you for staying with us. We apologize for the delay. It's just that Sean and I were trying to sort out an entire debate about this $200 date thing. I mean, it's not really like breaking news or anything, but we did get the inputs of one individual, and let's just say, well, before the conversation even started, I lost. Good morning, Janelle John Bates.
Hi, good morning, Peter. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, good morning.
Good to see you. It's been too long.
It has. It's felt like an eternity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, when you go and have to be busy or doing other things earning money, gosh, what's up with that?
But I must say I didn't enjoy that, what I had to do last week, as much as I enjoy being here with you all. So I'm very happy to be back and with the viewers.
That's so sweet and kind of her.
I know, right?
It's called Mama Guy.
I know, right?
Anyway, as we can...
Maybe you could be a politician in the future.
Yeah, maybe.
You're hitting too
You'd
close
vote
to
for me? Would you all vote for me?
Huh?
Would you all vote for me?
I would vote for you. However, you know, history has shown that where somebody starts off on a political journey and where they end up might actually be in very different places. So voting, saying I'll vote for you now, doesn't mean that I might, actually want to do it in 20, 30 when,
No, we have a very good relationship, but you don't have my voters yet. As yet.
Wow.
I'm
Well,
being
I guess
honest.
I have work to do.
I'm not rushing into actually endorsing anybody as yet.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, just being honest.
No problem, no problem.
I don't expect anybody to endorse me as yet either.
As yet?
Except you call us from San Fernando, Chagonas, Pity Valley,
Tobago.
St. James, Tobago, like Blanchy Shares, Sinclair, all they're supposed to endorse me right now. Anyway, let's get into the conversation because Janelle is with us finally this morning. The entire situation with respect to procurement, it seems as though we've made leeway there. The Procurement Act, well, most of it has been proclaimed. It's now up to companies to actually ensure that they are registered. The procurement board, though, they don't have a permanent chairman. Right now, the deputy chairman of that authority is actually at the reins. They're searching for an individual to take over. And we hope that doesn't prove to be too much of a difficulty. But in conversation with Mr. Lalchan, he has indicated that he believes the authority is still well-equipped, well-resourced, and well-staffed to actually handle this entire transition process. So, Janelle, what are your expectations of since this Procurement Act was proclaimed?
Well, I have high expectations. I think the full proclamation is long time in coming. The act being first, parts being proclaimed since 2015. I know there were things to work out, regulations and so forth. So I'm very happy to hear that it's finally, for the most part, been fully proclaimed. So I expect a lot.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that there's still the possibility, and this is a question for both ladies and gentlemen, that even though there is a process to go through, and don't get me wrong, processes exist all the time, that there is still room, obviously, for political interference and influence?
I would say yes, because it seems as though, and this is where the Prime Minister's statements, it leaves with a lot of questions, because he was basically saying, well, the pundits on TV, including those who he thought should know better. So it implies the formal regulator, and nobody else immediately comes to my mind, because people like us or Karen on this show who have spoken about it before, I would argue, well, he should not have expectations of us knowing better. We weren't involved with the legislation anyway. So it implies that there's some difference with regards to what is actually on paper and what we all are thinking this is going to be the silver bullet. And he warned against that. And that's fair. But I do wonder to some extent it brings back up the questions, right? He did explain why government-to-government contracts were kind of left out, so to speak, because he said, well, politicians need to have the capacity to make these decisions. And that was more or less, we knew that for a while. So but the flip side is, and I understand why he said it, the irony, of course, is that alone is one area that's obvious where there is room for some stuff to happen. But with regards now to the actual process of what the regulations are supposed to cover, I believe he said that it's not a case where the procurement regulator awards contracts, but rather somebody has to bring a complaint. So now we're in a society where we're not always so quick to complain.
Are we?
Janelle,
I think I might disagree.
It's a type of complaints.
I feel we complain a lot, but I feel that it's when people only know, they do indeed exercise their rights, but oftentimes people are not in the know. Mm-hmm. Or they are not fully aware of the extent of what a certain body can do for them. Mm-hmm. I use the example of Consumer Affairs because I have a family member who worked there. So they got complaints all the time. But the expectation, people didn't understand how far they could have gone with the powers in their remit. So I won't say that we won't complain. People just need to be aware of what can be done, the process.
2 points. One, you say that you think we complain a lot. Do we complain a lot without reason? And two, the powers that be, is it because of what the remits of the powers that allow us to go far in terms of the process? Or is it more so of what the powers would actually allow? If you understand what I'm saying.
Well, the first part you asked if we complain with no reason. I think Trinidadians have reasons to complain, and we do complain. Sometimes I just don't think we use the right forum. Okay. This act here sets out a particular procedure. First, you go to the office of the procurement regulator. If you don't like their decision, then you go to the procurement review board, and then you still have recourse to the courts. So I hope people would utilize the actual process as laid out, and I hope the process is as efficient as they would want us to believe. There are a lot of timelines that need to be held, and once we adhere to it, I think it's a good process, and I hope people use it. But as a procurement regulator would have said, the amount of people complaining is not actually the benchmark, or it's not, we don't want to have a lot of complaints. What we want is for the bodies to adhere to the particular guidelines so that there would be no need for people to complain. So we can't measure the success by the number of complaints. We actually don't want complaints actually in this area. We want to have a process that is fully fleshed out and followed by the state entities and government entities.
The thing is, and I get what she says when there's too much complaints, that's just, you're going to get that from the general population of any country because perfect information is just not something widespread. My concern though, the lack of complaints is probably going to come from those people who are actually in the situations, because we see it already. This is my job. I don't want to risk my job. Therefore, I will not rock the boat. So to what extent now is that going to translate to, well...
Like a whistleblower, you mean?
Nobody's going to want to blow the whistle.
I think that there's a section there. I didn't get into that section on whistleblowing, though.
I know there is, but it's just that, and it's not unique to TNT, but we have ways to unofficially circumvent rules and regulations. Some of them are playing out alleged circumvention of regulations is playing out in the press right now and in the political back and forth between certain members of the government and opposition bench. So it's possible. So part of it is, I guess, I don't know what makes this piece of legislation more secure from just how politics happen in this country.
I think also the situation is now is because the act has been proclaimed and the procurement regulator of TNT, that's operational. The instance now for companies to actually get registered and ensure that they're up to par, given the booklet that the procurement authority has released to all companies, we're not going to see the effects of it happening immediately, because I think efficiency is also a huge thing here in TNT. And I hope...
Efficiency or inefficiency?
What do we actually prescribe to here in TNT? But what do we practice? But the thing for me is that even when work is completed, it could be scrutinized by the authority. And I think that is key as well. It ties back into, and I'm just wondering, because I do not know to the full extent, if the quality of the work is not up to par, what are the repercussions for such?
And I think one of the problems, this is why I'll appreciate what the Prime Minister had to say. He said he's been trying to push this through, and he pointed to two examples, legal services and healthcare, with regards to the Procurement Act and how tricky it could be. And I think what you just said there, if the quality is not up to par, well, in some things, what is up to par? How do you measure it? How do you define what is up to par? So I understand that the legislation is going to be tricky and in some parts subjective, and you just can't get around that. The Prime Minister quoted his predecessor, Patrick Manning, saying, well, look, if it's bad, you still, try and fix it as best you can and you roll it out. But...
Hold on. Dr. Rowley was quoting his predecessor. Patrick Manning.
So I could appreciate how complex this is, and I just hope that the irony might be, it's not necessarily corruption, but the difficulty of the situation might cause problems, and then it will look like corruption. I think, not saying that corruption is not possible.
We do have to take a quick break here, but you're right. How are we going to scrutinize the quality of the work if there is no set standard or procedure as yet?
Or the quality of the results.
Yeah. But let's take a break here on Talking Points.
This May, the spectacular event you've been waiting for is coming. May 27th, celebrate amazing. North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival. Festival grounds, Blashy Shares. Born here, played here. Tickets available at Crosby's, Extra Foods Endeavour, Shogunas Main Road, Sangre Grande, Arima, Grand Bazaar, Mart's Liquor Mart, Diego Martin, Kenny's Sports Outlets, Athletes by the Park, and WESN.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship Mac Bean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Welcome back to Talking Point, and thank you for staying with us. Janelle John Bates is with us this morning after she decided that she needed a break from Sean and I.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just,
it's understandable.
I'm just kidding.
Keaton wears thin onions.
He's actually not kidding. You should see how red he turns when the show is finished. Anyway, let's get into the second topic now, and this is something that we actually spoke about yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and we are extending that conversation this morning, and that is the role of a parent-teachers association in any school, and how crucial it is as part of any education system or any education institution. Janelle, one of the points that one of the callers raised, I thought it was an excellent point, and that's precisely why we've expanded on this topic, is that an active PTA also leads to a better schooling system, regardless of the institution.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with the caller wholeheartedly. An active PTA, there's only so much the teachers, the principal, and the administration of a school can do, especially given all the limitations we have in the education system, especially financially. So one of the more obvious ways that a PTA is helpful is that they organize initiatives that raise funds and also just provide some extracurricular activities for children to engage in, because the schooling is not only about mathematics. What is arithmetic, language, and whatever the phrase was?
Everything was arithmetic. Everything used to be arithmetic.
Yeah, well, now it's arithmetic.
Right. So they assist by providing those sort of extracurricular activities, and they assist with the fundraising. That is very important. And they also support the value system of the school. students need to see that what they're being taught at home is resonated in the school, and then it goes back home. They see that continuity and the values between what is said at home and what is said in the school, and an active PTA reinforces that as well.
Yes, because one of the things that was mentioned yesterday is the ethics and the certain standards that a PTA would, if they become more involved, it's also easier to probably thrash out issues.
Yes.
For example, a video was circulating of a schoolboy brandishing a cutlass.
Oh, yeah.
All right? But one of the things that was being suggested by the mother is that he never took the cutlass to school. The cutlass was behind the blackboard. Right?
Right.
So, and I'm just confused. I'm like, is it that your son is telling you that? Is it that what is taking place within the school system where somebody can even walk into the school with a cutlass to begin with?
And why did he then decide to take it onto himself to take it off out of the blackboard?
So then the other aspect of it is that even if you have an active PT, if you have some parents that are just always completely defensive, and don't get me wrong, I know that parents would always want to think that their children are doing well and are doing good, and your parents will always look out for you.
Yes.
But if it is that you have parents who, to a certain extent, I don't want to say don't care, but could care less, because I'll just defend my child no matter what. They're never wrong. It doesn't make sense even having a PT, does it?
But I want to say, sometimes, so I was having a conversation with, I have a friend who actually teaches in a school in a hotspot. And I was asking her, because all the parent-teacher, and it's not only parent-teacher, also parent support groups, mine as the teachers, that I am affiliated with or know of are in the denominational schools, I'll put it that way. She's working in a government school. And she pointed out to me that the reality is, it's not necessarily that the parents don't care, These parents often work in menial jobs that take them into different hours of the day and night, 4 and 5 o'clock. They can't take time off because they would lose pay to come to the meetings and be more active. And also, for example, where her school is located, it's a hot spot. And borders are a very serious thing. So you may have a child in a school in an area that is outside of your border, and they actually cannot come to the meetings. And then if we have the teachers aspect, the teachers don't want to stay back beyond a certain hour, again, because of safety issues. So sometimes the inactivity of the PTA is beyond whether the parents or the teachers care.
So then what you're saying or what you're suggesting to me is that because we failed so much as it relates to national security, that in some instances it leads to an inactive PT. I'm not saying it's entirely the reason.
I'm not saying that because we fail so much. I'm saying because of national security issues that we all can't ignore, it does impact other areas of life.
Forgive me, I don't want to get too far away from the topic, but it's a very good point that you've raised. But you're saying that we can't ignore it. We do ignore it. Otherwise, we would have at least tried to resolve these issues about borders by now. We live in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a small island. To have borders, that's ironic, right?
No,
hear this. We have open maritime borders.
Yeah.
But in TNT, we have all these confined boundaries because of gang activity, and people can't enter.
So what you're saying is we need to employ the gangs to secure the borders because they do a better job than the Coast Guard.
I am not saying either.
No, not you. I'm saying, Keaton, that's what you're saying. No, but that's a joke. That's a joke. But on a more serious part of the discussion, oh boy, I hope I don't get in trouble for that one. The thing is, though, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because I would argue it's not just a national security breakdown. I just said before you joined us that the commissioner, she kind of entrapped herself in a bad way because not all of crime, the responsibility is 100% on the police.
No, it's
and
not.
The police is not going to have 100% of the cure. So to me, I think the education system and it's the areas where it's lacking and that contribution to crime, right, is probably underestimated by most people in the country. So now which comes first? It's a chicken and the egg scenario. The crime because of people who not have any opportunity and not have any correct guidance leading to situations like in the school, or the school finding itself in the situation, but I think it's more or less self-perpetuating at this point.
I think it's a self-perpetuating. At this point, I don't even know if it matters which came first, because it's here. And we need to shore up the education system, our criminal justice system. It all needs work to have active PTAs, to have safer neighborhoods.
Now, to a certain extent, we also may be I'm not in no way trying to ignore what you've said. I think it's a very valuable point, and it just goes to show how influential crime and criminal activity has had on every single practice or every single institution. But beyond that, in some instances, are we making excuses? Because I can tell you immediately that working in the media is a full-time job. But one of the individuals who works here, she's a mother of two, and even though it's a full-time job, she still makes the time. For example, this school has now started facilitating virtual PTA meetings.
Which is so sometimes we do make excuses. Sometimes we will find a way, we will prioritize what is important to us. So yes, sometimes there are parents who just don't make the effort. But then some parents may not even know, like, how can they get involved? So I think there's also a matter of more PR, because I was listening to the media
yes.
personnel from the QRC PTA,
Yes.
and she was saying it's about actually going up to parents and saying, hi, I am whoever, you are whoever. This is how you could get involved. So there are so many reasons why a PTA may not be active. Different schools have different reasons why it's not working or may not be working as well, or why it's working excellently in some schools versus others.
One of the things, though, that I think there is something with regards to, look, not all jobs will allow you to have the capacity to do it. With regards to timing, it's, and then also with regards to the transportation time, in part because, and this is where things like ease of doing business, and I'm not just talking about the bureaucracy now, all of the little things like infrastructure and logistics of the country.
A chain reaction.
Right? It all has an impact, and losing that productivity also means that, hey, now I don't have the capacity, I don't have a large enough window where I could duck out because it'll take too long, and I'm not productive enough because of all of these other reasons. So it's like a set of building blocks. One could say it's a house of cards, but it's not as easy to solve. It's not as easy to kind of remove. And I do feel for the fact that, look, there will be some people who it really doesn't matter. Then there's also the people who have to like work multiple jobs.
Sorry, they work what?
Work multiple jobs.
Yes, they do have to work multiple jobs.
So in this current economy. So all of these things, it's just the worse things get, the easier it is to get even worse beyond the current point.
Let me ask your opinion, Janelle. I think that here in TNT, we've made it easy for people to complain, right? We've made it easy. Simple things somehow turn out to be difficult tasks.
Okay.
If we've made it easy for people to complain, is it easy to resolve the issues that we've expressed this morning on this platform, facing here in TNT, for example? Why do we have so many crime hotspots? Why are there so many borders? That is even affecting the operations of a PT and even the school on a daily basis, right? So is it that we've made it easier for people to complain and face difficulty, or are we actually making headway in finding solutions?
I think some headway is being made. As I am an optimist, as we are discussing, as it relates to crime. I do think some headway is being made. It may not be as fast as we'd want, and there's some areas that are not as efficient as others. But I think there are other things we could address. For example,
I will challenge you to give me an example. The reason simply being, it's not that I'm trying to put you on the spot. It's just that being an optimist, I understand it. Because every day when I wake up, I try to be optimistic as well. I try to look at everything from a positive standpoint. I do. But what is an example of us actually resolving something here, you know? I mean, yes, we are being an optimist, but at the same time, sometimes we have to be realistic, you know? So I'm just wondering if we've also made it difficult. As much as we made it easy for people to complain, we've also made it difficult to resolve these issues.
But putting crime aside, which is, we know that is a heavyweight, we know that is a difficult issue. We have also addressed other issues that may affect a PTA, and you have even given a solution, virtual PTA meetings.
Although then it comes to the question of, you know, do they have internet, do they have devices? Same thing like with the pandemic and virtual classes.
I would hope after the pandemic, that would have been a major push for most people in this country to find or have access to a device. Even if it's not your personal device, you can have access to a device that you can use, for example, for the virtual PTA meetings. So as I said, it's not a one-size-fits-all for the schools. Different areas, different students have different needs.
So then what if you have an active PTA?
Yes.
Virtually. But given that it's in a hotspot or a border area, you can't have any school events.
well, you'd have to take these school events outside of the particular area.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or if, for example, if it's about, let's say, raising funds, you can have simple things, well, not curry cues, for example. I'm just using it. So the curry cue doesn't have to emanate or be, you don't have to go to something in your particular area. You can utilize, well, I don't want to call any entity
but
to
then,
promote them.
we should just take the school out of the area. I mean, think about it.
No, that's a whole...
No, because put it this way. We probably can't have these school events during the day for whatever reason. A hotspot, the border, but we having school classes during the day in that area.
Okay, yes, that's another debate. Should schools be allowed to continue in a hotspot? It's a catch-22 with that one because, in theory, with the budget supplementation, I don't know if EFCL contractors are going to get their money.
EFCL doesn't exist.
Right? But a lot of the money outstanding for work on education facilities hopefully will get paid. But that's the outstanding work. To what extent does the budget allow for the current required work?
It's not realistic to move schools out of hotspots. There are many large schools in various hotspots. We can't do that. We just have to work on improving the systems that are there to allow students to go to school and have an active PTA.
Not have hotspots or borders.
Here's the thing though, I think, again, to agree with Janelle, your point with regards to people sometimes don't know what's available to them. But then also, like, we underestimate it, but I'm sure in your everyday life, guys, you all would have been in a situation where you had a problem, you didn't know what to do about it, somebody came and gave you a very simple solution. It's like, why didn't I think about that? And you kind of underestimate, sometimes people when they're stressed out, it's like, why don't I think about going and hosting events outside of the school? Like, what might seem simple to an outsider, because we are not emotionally invested and riled up over specific school in hotspots problems, right? For us, it's easy to just, oh, well, why did you try this or why did you try that? And of course, there might also be reasons why certain specific things can't work. But with your point, Keaton, I'll just like to say, yes, it's easy to complain, but I feel as though it's not that it's made it difficult to fix things. It's just that the avenues for complaints aren't really geared towards fixing things. They're just geared to complain. You could complain to the media, and to some extent, that is an avenue to try to fix things.
It's a good point you raised, but that wasn't the point I was making.
But at the end of the day, if all we have is to complain to media, and it's not affecting people to get into action, then the media could highlight everything and anything at once in a award-winning manner.
To a certain extent, you've contradicted yourself, because you yourself have said people are actually scared to try and even raise these issues for the sake of their livelihood,
No, but both could happen at the same time.
But Janelle and I actually agree on a lot of things. And I think one of the things that we do agree on is that in instances, charity does begin at home. So you might have an inactive PTA within the school, but you as a parent, what are you doing at home when your child is home, right? Teaching your child the right thing, discipline, instilling discipline. And people say, well, you have to instill discipline through fear. No, you don't have to instill discipline through fear. In fact, if anything, fear will lead to greater resentment.
I always say it depends on the child, to be honest. To me, I think you have to know your child and have to know what processes or what punishments or inducements would work on that particular child. It's not a one-size-fits-all.
It's true. My mom said I went through the terrible twos until I was 20. So, no, but
so you
realistically,
almost went through trouble 20s as well.
Realistically, Janelle, I think that even if there is an inactive PTA, I think it also depends on what is happening within the home, and even a parent's interaction with their child that would also reflect off of the child's behavior in the school, in the classroom.
And that's the thing. Technically, PTA is Parent-Teacher Association. We haven't necessarily spoken much about the teachers. That has its whole other kettle of fish, right? But with regards to parents don't necessarily need a PTA. That's what I ask. Does it have to be in a PTA? Part of it is involvement.
Parents don't need a PTA insofar as it speaks to the value system you inculcate in your child. But maybe I am limited in my view of what a PTA is, but I see them also very much involved in the fundraising. And we definitely need a PTA for that. The schools that I'm involved in, it's one school I'm particularly involved in. The PTA plays an active role in ensuring the maintenance of the school.
Yes, to a great degree, yes, that is the case. the other side of it as well is, we don't have time to get into this particular debate or conversation, but do we want, just based off of sometimes what we've seen, because social media now is a news source for plenty of people, but just based off of what we've seen and what we've heard, and in some instances how parents react or even how parents get involved. There have been instances in parents getting involved in the fights. Do we want some of these parents to actually be involved if there was a PT? Well, that is another side of it.
That's another question, and it brings me to the appearance of a particular social media star in a school. My understanding was the Parent Teachers Association that invited that particular person that caused the furor because a large majority of the populace didn't think that she was an appropriate individual to give advice to students, but it was the parent teachers, I am understanding, who thought she was.
So that is a good example as to possibly why it is we may not want some of these parents to actually be involved in a PT. But anyway, let's take a break here on Talking Points. When we return, we're going to open the phone lines this morning. Stay tuned.
Is out, all day is in. WESN News on the hour.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers? Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Psyched. Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
Join me, Dr. Nalini Kokram, on What's Up Doc, where we discuss all your burning questions concerning health.
Trinidad and Tobago is among one of the highest risk group of patients that develop this form of genetic breast cancer.
What I'd like to take home from a short interview like this, screening. You must screen.
Because it's silent.
It's silent.
Yeah.
And because it's silent, you don't know it's there.
What's Up Doc, every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival. Safe and sound, that's how we'll get you to the biggest North Coast Jazz ever. No hassle and no worries. Park your ride at the Queen's Park Savannah. Hop on board a safe and secure shuttle with your $100 return fee, and that's it. Service begins at 10 a.m. through 1 p.m. and returns from festival grounds from 7 p.m. Park and ride, a $100 return fee, first come, first go shuttle service to festival grounds Blashy shares. No hassle and no worries. North Coast Jazz, May 27th. Born here, played here. Tickets available at Crosby's, Extra Foods Endeavour, Shogunas Main Road, Sangre Grande, Arima, Grand Bazaar, Mart's Liquor Mart, Diego Martin, Kenny's Sports Outlets, Athletes by the Park, and WESN.
Welcome back to Talking Point. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday the 12th of May. Let's open up the phone lines because for the very first time, she's going to be baptized by fire. Janelle John Bates actually is with us for calls this morning, and thank you very much for staying with us.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
For the time lost last week.
Yes.
But she is, and all in good reason, by the way. I'm giving her a bit of flack this morning because we actually did miss her opinion, her perspective. And her contributions are very much valued here on Talking Point. So thank you very much. Let's open up the phone lines, 628-4578. Sorry, my apologies. 623-9376. That's 623-9376. The reason my co-host is laughing, but the thing is that we have been having some difficulties with the phone lines and we were testing them yesterday.
It's just like you're the one who pointed out not to use.
No, because yesterday I was under the impression that was the number that was giving issues, but my directors just confirmed that that is indeed the number that's working. So call in and join us on Talking Point this morning. Share with us your thoughts and opinions. And of course, please make your contributions sweet, brief, respectful. And don't turn on the volume on your television before calling in to make your contribution, please. We are appreciative of that. Anyway, let's continue the conversation in the meantime. By the way, I'm just going to ask my directors just to make sure that that is indeed the phone line that is working. Because I know yesterday we were testing it, but just please confirm and clarify that is indeed the phone line that is working. All right, good. So my directors are checking on that. Anyway, as we were saying before we had to go for news, is it that we as part of we're advocating for more active PTAs, and there are instances that exist that we might not want some of these parents to actually be involved in the PTA because of it may be their attitude, it may be their behavior, and it may, and let's be honest with each other, there are so many instances now where you just can't reason with people.
It's true, but I would want to believe that the type of parents who, even if they were before, but they are eventually join parents who would make a contribution. I would believe that the parents who are sort of parents you'd want are any minority in Trinidad and Tobago. I would want to assume that those who are in primary minority in Trinidad. I give some credit as Trinidad and Tobagonians.
I would like to give us as Trinidadians. I'll tell you why. We are absolutely consistent with everything. For example, neither of the phone lines are working.
So I guess we should take the phone numbers down.
We apologize.
Folks. But one thing though that I'll say this, it's kind of funny with regards to statistics because a lot of the times these outliers are minorities, right? In whatever topic of statistics, demographics, analysis you want to speak about. But the flip side to that is the actual figure, while small relative to the population, might still be large enough to be significant and to be impactful. It's a catch-22 because to some extent, as the system perpetuates itself, you needed to have individuals at various stages of whether it's delinquency or whether it's just not having a lack of a value system to spread throughout the community. And then, of course, the ones where the results are the most extreme, they will rise up as the true violent criminals. But you'll still have like a underlying layer of people who, while they're not necessarily criminal, they're from that same environment potentially. And sometimes they could be from the environment, don't get me wrong, and they will come out still productive, high-valued, high-character members of society. But that's an uphill battle.
You do. Sule Joseph, who's a good friend of all of ours, he has indicated that as in psychology, you study environmental factors as well.
Yeah.
So it obviously plays a prominent factor in the psyche of how people approach things.
Yes.
Just to sidestep for a moment, and you will forgive me, I am very frustrated, right? Earlier on, we were speaking about avenues of, it's so easy to complain. We just might do it wrong. You spoke about the role of the media.
Yeah.
Right? I just like to...
I mean, case in point, you've been complaining about TSTT for how long? And
give Janelle just... listen, we've tried to resolve this issue with TSTT for the longest while. We've gone through the correct avenues, the correct channels, and that is why I've gotten to the point where I actually publicly vent about it.
I would just like to point out, I don't blame the individuals who actually come here to try to do the work. They are limited by what they're told to do.
Before you try to butter them up, let me finish what I was saying, right?
Oh boy.
The point is, this is getting absolutely ridiculous because for how many months, it's over a year now we've been trying to deal with these issues for TSTT, and there were some instances where we got relief where the phone lines were up for quite some time. But the reason why I'm venting about it is because we said this morning, it's easy to complain. You know, look at the avenues to deal with the situation. We've gone through all the correct avenues. Why is it now? And you know, the thing is, we still have to pay our bill.
Yes.
And if we stop paying our bill, because we are not receiving services, there are going to be repercussions for that.
Yes.
So you cannot have virtual PTA meetings if your service provider is TSTT.
Oh boy.
You can't.
So here's a second question. I don't know how much you're aware of this because, you know, it's not as though you will literally practice all aspects of law.
Sure.
But would you say TNT is a country that is heavy with litigation or not heavy with litigation?
I don't have any comparators to say, well, it seems heavy to me based on the caseload and how long it takes for certain things to be resolved.
Like civil, to sue.
Lawyers are working, people come every day, people want to sue. I think we are not, it doesn't seem from, if I'm looking at American TV as a judge, it doesn't seem we are to that extent.
Right.
But people are very willing to at least get a consultation with a lawyer to know what their rights are. Especially with the advent of social media and you can Google things, people are becoming more and more aware that this doesn't seem right. Let me see, and then they would approach you. So I think we're becoming a very litigious society.
Because
that's rather unfortunate, isn't it?
In some ways, yes, but I feel part of it too is, look, one of the reasons why we're saying, prison service or courts or whatever part of the criminal justice system, you all have to do better, is because when they have malicious prosecution cases or wrongful arrest cases and you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars go out because the judge is like, hold on, you all messed up here, so now the state has to pay the price.
But I wasn't only thinking of, when you asked me that question, I wasn't thinking of a private public, or a citizen's rights being trampled or infringed on by the public.
But my
just
point
generally
is,
speaking,
my point is, that was like an area now where we're seeing our judge, you know, like giving penalties to a situation, and now we're calling for change, and hopefully the people involved are seeking change. With regards to private entities, I think in the past, you know, what are you going to do, sue me?
The thing is,
now it's a lot more of a likely possibility.
I've actually noticed that, I don't know, towards the end of the lockdowns and into when we've reopened, I guess there are two businesses that have prospered. One, I've seen a lot more funeral homes pop up across TNT. That's not a joke. I'm not kidding. Along the east-west corridor, there are, and let's be realistic, given what's taking place in TNT,
the moderators,
you know, it's profitable now to run a funeral home. And that's sad that's reality. But if you're saying that we also becoming a litigious society, that's beneficial for lawyers in TNT as well.
No, but
it doesn't mean that we're going to get our situation resolved, because part of the problem is how long is it going to take to go through the entire system to get it resolved?
Yeah, there's that too. There's that too.
You know?
And that also is why a corporation is like, yeah, sue us now. We'll just tie these things down so long. You come and manage to around some money
And
way
we
before
might not
me.
even be in this position when your case is finally resolved.
Yeah.
You know? So again, I am just seeing people say we have to look for solutions, right? I agree. We have to look for solutions. It's going to take many, many people. I hear these sirens, and I hope there's not TSTT coming to arrest me. But I am just saying, it takes all of us to come together to think, because I don't know for whatever reason it is. Those who are actually in authority, I'm not saying that they're not thinking. I'm just saying whatever it is they're thinking, clearly not working, right? If we are to make progress, it does not mean we have to shut down this one thing and start up a new process. Because if the new process is basically the same as the old, it's not going to make much of a difference. We're going to encounter the same problems. That is not the solution. To me, I cannot understand why it is we're constantly doing this when we cannot fix what is existing. It's like a building, for example. You have a house, you have a building. If you don't maintain it, what's going to happen?
And maintenance is a problem in Trinidad. Generally.
Exactly.
But I mean, the flip side is usually, you know, restoring a house could be so much more expensive. It reaches the point where it's like,
it's better to tear
it's better to just build a new house, yeah, or a car. But I understand what you're saying, because usually we're too quick to do that. And I do wonder, again, a lot of these issues are interconnected. Education is interconnected to crime. Crime is interconnected to business, because, hey, funeral business, death is booming in more ways than one, apparently, in TNT. So to what extent now, TSTT, it's a weird spot with regards to a state entity, right? It's government owned, but it's not really like a public service, right? But to what extent now is whether it is the ease of doing business, or whether it is public service corruption, or whether it is the labor market in the country, or which is all of that is tied to, because the government is a big negotiator with the Public Service Association and the public sector unions. Government, whether it's corruption, inefficiency, what have you, they all tie together and they kind of all compound each other.
They do. But you know what? I'm hearing all of this and I feel sad for two things today. That the day that I have chosen to say I cannot interact with the callers. And two, I feel today...
It's not our fault.
No, not your fault at all. And then the second thing is, I feel like we have it's almost like we are going into this mire of just negativity. The thing is, all these institutions are run by one type of people, Trinidadians and Tobagonians. All of us affect, so if TSTT isn't functioning, it's a Trinidadian or a Tobagonian who's there.
There's some Tobagonians who might be upset with you for calling them Trinidadians, I'm just saying.
Trinidadians and Trinbagonians. If the police service isn't functioning, Trinbagonians. If the schools, certain schools are not functioning, it's Trinbagonians. Sometimes I think we need to stop looking outside and saying why they don't do this. We all need to do better wherever we are placed.
But
so if we are in the media, we need to do our job properly.
Well,
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. Because even though I sit in this position, guess what? I will look in the mirror and I will be my biggest critic. Yesterday I said I didn't like the show. I felt as though I was talking nonsense. I didn't think I did enough research or have a better understanding of the topic before coming and speaking. And I think I'm doing an injustice to people. So I will be my biggest critic. Because I've also criticized other media outlets here in TNT for their poor journalism. I agree with you. As much as we need to do our part as well, if it is you are doing your part, if it is you're working hard, you're doing things the right way, you're doing things with a clean mind, a clean heart, a good conscience, with integrity, but you're not getting that result. So my next question to you, Janelle, would be, as a young person in TNT, if we were to be honest with each other, how do you feel? TNT blessed, TNT sweet. We could look at it that way, and I will agree. We have really good things here in TNT. We're unique. But genuinely, day-to-day living, how do you feel?
I feel day to day that there is work to be done, but I still feel that I don't want to go anywhere else. The topic of migrating has been something that I have discussed with my family, and I do not want to go anywhere else because I want to stay here and make an impact, whether it be in my profession as an attorney, coming here, giving time back, coming here, working with the Alumni Association. I think I want to put my back to the wheel and work.
You want to do that.
Yes.
Me too. It's for that very same reason why I'm here, why I'm in this job, and even doing this job, I may get people so angry that walking out that door puts my life at risk, right? There is a possibility. I have not hidden from that reality, but I still stay here because I want change. I want a difference.
Yes.
But is there opportunity in TNT? Is there opportunity? If we're being honest with each other, is there really opportunity?
But we're all here in different spheres, so clearly there is opportunity. If there was no opportunity, you wouldn't be where you are, Kitan.
Really? Or maybe it's because
or are you saying you know somebody and it's nepotism?
Or am I just saying that I actually am not linked or tied to anybody, so I'm not afraid. I am not afraid because in that same capacity, I wouldn't necessarily hold back. I always have to be careful because of libel and because of all of that.
Right.
Obviously. And I will never look to disrespect anybody. Never look to disrespect anybody.
Sure.
But the point that I'm making is it that opportunity only exists if I was tied or linked to somebody? Or if I'm affiliated with somebody?
No,
Honestly,
there are opportunities out there.
Honestly, just look at what's going on in Tobago and how the executive is kind of being sucked into some of the same patterns that politicians before them were potentially sucked into. Not all politicians start off bad, but what really separates good politicians from bad politicians is how do you let the job affect you and change you, so then you end up not actually being that person to change the system that you probably started out as, right? Of course, some people do start off into politics to make money and have the wrong intentions, right? And I think the reason is ultimately is where I was going just now. The problem seems so vast and so wide because it's all interconnected and it's difficult. You can't you can't just single out the TTPS and solve that aspect of crime fighting. You still have to worry about why do the courts take so long? Why are so many young people looking to get into a life of crime, right? So why is it that a prison sentence and the thought of dying either by a police bullet or a gang bullet is not dissuading people from this type of lifestyle? So what are the police supposed to do? If you don't fear death, me arresting you is not going to be a deterrent. So these problems are interconnected, whether it's economic, social, education, public utilities, what have you. And it seems very difficult because even the politicians, again, the system forces them, it limits what they could do a lot of the time, whether it is the systems of their party and internal politics or the bureaucracy of the government, what have you. So some of it we could eventually fix, not overnight. You can't fix party politics overnight. But the problem seems so vast, and I think the key what you said there is, look, it all boils down to the fact that it's Trinbagonians at the helm of everything, because this is Trinidad and Tobago. So it is to call on society to do, it might seem small, but if we all make small improvements with regards to the decisions we make, with regards to how we interact with each other, with regards to, okay, am I going to take the easy way out or am I going to have a principled stand because this is wrong? And it might not be, oh, I'm stopping $10 million of corruption. It could just be, hey, you are not doing your job, school teacher or groundsman or what have you.
All right, it seems as though TSTT did my pleas, and I don't know what they did. I don't know. We'll be fortunate enough to have at least one call this morning, and we're taking it from San Fernando. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. I listened to you all this morning. Back on that subject of the PTA's stuff, right? I want to say something to Ms. Beats. Fundraising, while is a key part of any PTA, especially a lot of schools are underfunded, what you want in a PTA is just attendance of the parents. Because there's always a board, a PTA management committee, but what you want is just attendance of the regular parents to the meetings. that is what helps with the issues in the school and the violence and problems with the children, when the parents and the teachers can talk.
Yes.
And that is what is missing. And I want to say one other thing. What you see now in Trinidad and Tobago is we have a lot of facilities, sporting facilities.
Yes.
The state has provided a lot of facilities, spent billions on sporting facilities all over this country. Recreation ground, basketball courts. What you see now are empty courts, empty grounds. There are virtually no youth playing sports.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see now, what's happening in conjunction with that, you've now seen more gang violence, more indiscipline in schools, and it comes back to one thing: parents' participation.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the civil organizations for youth, the Scouting, the Girl Guides, all those things. Those things are run by parents.
Yes.
I used to be part of all those things. My parents were part of those things when I was in those organizations when I was a youngster.
Yeah.
And I was part of those things too, in terms of my children. And the problem is, of this thing, if the parents in it,
I'm not hearing the caller.
The connection.
Connection. TSTT gave you a brief reprieve, Kitan. I'm not hearing the caller.
I guess something is better than nothing.
Yeah,
All right, caller, thank you very much. And that's actually our only call for this morning. Give it the time. Janelle, you get one call.
I get one call, and it was the conversation.
Janelle, we have to
it.
book you again for a full edition of AM Prime. Talking Point.
You want me on AM Prime? I could come there too,
Of course.
I would just like to point out, caller, your point, especially about the Boy Scouts and Girl Guides.
Salient.
We know somebody who very much would be grateful for you for raising that point. It's an example where it's not just parental participation, though, but also the fact that there are aspects of society that discounts the value of such institutions in this country. And I'll say no more about that because we don't have enough time, but that's the other part of the problem.
Anyway, we're more or less out of time. Janelle, I am so sorry about the phone lines this morning.
No problem.
If I receive any pre-action protocol letter from TSTT, I'll let you know. All right? I didn't say anything libelous.
Well, I mean,
I wasn't wrong.
We have evidence. The call literally died as the poor caller was speaking.
No, you know what? Janelle probably has a point. We have complained so much and we've gone through the right avenues. It's time to stop complaining and start acting. And stop utilizing this service.
You also have a consumer always has a choice. There are other service providers.
Okay. I would just like to point out that we've also had issues with other service providers. so sometimes you have a choice, but when the choice is bad and inefficient.
Is it like the banks?
No, I'll tell you what. Even if we've had other issues with those other service providers, one, it's been quickly resolved, and two, it's still more reliable than what we currently face.
So make your choice, guys.
Anyway.
I mean, when your choice is ketchup or mustard, sometimes you don't really have a choice. I just like barbecue sauce, folks.
I don't know why you had to go down that road. Right? I really don't know why you had to go on that road. Janelle John Bates, it's good seeing you again, my dear.
It was wonderful to see you all.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And don't skip next
Same
week
to
now because
you.
we miss you.
All right, we'll see how it goes.
Oh gosh.
Sean Michael Small. Well, I hope today isn't too parched for you, man. I hope you don't feel too parched today, too hot or anything like that.
Actually,
you're already feeling parched.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. My lips are chapped right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is a good day to have a great day, unless you have TSTT as a service provider. Anyway, now on a serious note, please make it a good one. Let it be productive, and hopefully things go good this weekend. We really hope they do. And our thoughts go out to that 12-year-old. I really hope that she pulls through and she makes it. And ending with that story, then having to say Happy Mother's Day to all mothers across the nation. Kind of hard to say, but we all love you and we all appreciate you.
Happy Mother's Day.
Well, you know what? Let me be the positive one. Even in the face of that, folks, we still have to try our best to make our time on this earth as positive as we can, because you never know what could happen to you, but Don't let that dissuade you from trying to be good towards other people and also be good for yourself.
Yes.
I am shocked. Remember those words. Because next week, Monday, when he comes, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, welcome to Talk. I remind you, you have to be more positive, Sean. Hold on. I'll tell you what. We'll see you again on Monday morning. Bye-bye.